Good morning, guys. Happy coffee talk. Coffee this morning is my Wicked Wolf coffee in my jujitsu mug. I started my day today at 4:30, so I did get up and get rocking. But it's been kind of a low key. It's Friday, right? So I don't have to go 100 million miles an hour, but I am enjoying getting stuff done. It's 5:45 in the morning. If you've never experienced getting up at 4:30 or 5 and then getting a bunch of things done, try it just once because it kind of is addicting. Because you realize, man, I got all this stuff done and no one else is even awake yet. So anyways, coffee this morning is my Wicked Wolf coffee and my favorite jujitsu mug from my homie Rachel at Jujitsu. She's my training partner and has been for a couple years. I love this mug. It's got all the jujitsu belts on it. So anyways, I am excited to talk coffee talk stuff. I appreciate you guys bearing with me yesterday. I kind of got on all the feels and, the day before I was sharing about my adventure that's coming up and I cannot wait for that. But, sometimes these episodes are like just inspirational, right? I can give you something from my day and you can take it and run with it. I can give you a thought perspective, something I've learned from coaching people, a conversation I've had. And then sometimes I like to share a little bit of piece of me. And so I appreciate you kind of letting me do that yesterday and getting in the feels a little bit just about how much I appreciate, women and people who support in different seasons. So anyways, thanks for being you and thanks for listening. But I want to kind of dive into a conversation I had with a client yesterday because I thought it would be a great coffee talk topic. So she struggled for a little while in terms of consistency. And that consistency turned into, so first off, she lost probably 30 pounds a couple years ago with coaching. So I've been her coach for a long time. And then life happened, as it does. And the habits that she put in place, that foundation that she put in place, actually maintained her progress through a pretty crazy season, which is kind of what I think is unique about Fit Me is it's not a diet. Like we're actually like fundamentally changing your foundation, how you live your lifestyle. So even if you're not 100% focused on say weight loss or something like that, you can maintain what you've done because you have this foundation in place as opposed to some sort of like kind of quick fix program or something that you're not actually going to stick with when life gets hard. So anyways, she stuck with it, kept her progress for quite a long time. And then wanted to start another season of like working towards her goal, which is she has a weight loss goal. She has a lot of fitness goals too, but she wants to continue to lose weight. Well, the thing is that it was hard to restart, right? So she did really good at maintaining and then she wanted to restart, but then it wasn't that life happened. Priorities happened. Priorities shifted. And this is where me as a coach, like I can't do this part for you. Most of this I can't do for you. I can't put food in your mouth or not put food in your mouth. I can't, help you with your boundaries necessarily when you're in the moment and you're trying to keep them. All I can do is give you direction, give you support, give you a plan, and then help you with accountability and, talking it through as you're actually executing the plan. And so in this case, I could tell that her priorities were shifting. And instead of maintaining those healthy habits, they became like an afterthought. It was like, let's do X, Y, and Z. And okay, I can try to squeeze that in. Or okay, I'll try to do that. And so one piece stayed in place for her, which is working out. She's always been pretty consistent with that. But all of the other pieces started to fall off. And I was watching it happening. And at the same time, again, it's not me. So I'm not the one who is doing it. So there's nothing I can do. Ultimately, I can just be there as the coach, give the game plan, give the support, and be there when she's ready to reprioritize. And so I got a text for her yesterday, and I know she felt pretty frustrated because she wants to get going again. And that priority shift that has been the case probably for the past 6 months caught up to her. And she said she felt ashamed and embarrassed because she had lost a lot of that progress that she had made. And I told her, don't be ashamed. One, you don't need to be ashamed with me ever. And two, or embarrassed, this is something that happens. Does it mean that you failed? I don't know. I guess if you want to call it that, but I don't think so. Sometimes it gets away from us and we have to reel it back. And what I think is maybe a perspective shift for most of us is that instead of us thinking about, okay, well, once I've achieved something, like say I have lost 25 pounds and I'm going to the gym all the time and I'm feeling really good and I'm eating all this great food, and then like as life goes on, it starts to slip, and then you have to reel it back. That's not failure. That's commitment. And so you can think of it as failure because you weren't able to maintain the perfect, like best case scenario version of your fit lifestyle. Or you can just think of when it falls off and you are like, I've got to get it back. That's commitment. That's saying to yourself, I'm not giving up, even though I've lost some of my progress, even though I let my priorities get out of whack for a little while. This relationship that I have with myself, my healthy body, this commitment that I made, those achievements that I did, those are important to me, and I'm not going to give up on them. I'm going to go ahead and recommit to getting back there. And this is a cycle that you're going to go through for the rest of your life. And so one of the best things that I think I can probably do in this coaching season for her is to give her this piece. It's like, hey, this is what you're going to need to do. This is part of what my life is. Sometimes I think I shared it with walking the other day. I shared an Instagram post and I showed a picture of, I showed a picture of probably 9 years ago when I was working on changing my lifestyle for the first time. I was in the process of losing about 45 pounds and I was walking regularly, like all the time. I was walking with a little Salisbury walking club group that I like put together on Facebook, and it was just a miscellaneous group of a couple people I knew, a couple people I didn't. We'd show up to the park 3 or 4 times a week and we would walk with kids, with dogs, with whatever, and we'd probably walk 3 to 5 miles. So that season of my life became the beginning of walking, and since then, all these past 9 years, walking has been a super important part of keeping in a healthy body and lifestyle. But there have been plenty of times where it has fallen off. I mean, I look at my step tracker from this past winter and I'm like, holy moly. Like there was a entire chunk of time where I was averaging about 5,000 steps. I had deprioritized walking completely. And it showed. And so I reeled it back in. So now I'm recommitted to walking as a regular part of my healthy lifestyle. And I'm doing 3 to 4 miles a day because that's what I like to do. It's like an hour, right? Like I can go for a walk for an hour. And that is something that I had to pull back in because it was slipping. And it had slipped for a couple months. It didn't even just slip for a couple weeks. And so you might find yourself in different seasons where things have slipped, and go ahead and remove the feeling of failure and then say, I'm committed. Although this has slipped, my priorities shifted, I let this go further than it should, I am committed and I'm going back. I'm going back to where I need to be. What do I need to change? Not about my, how much I want it, not that. What do I need to change about my priorities and my routines in order to be back to where I was? Because again, we can feel in the moment, yay, I'm committed and I'm going to do it. That doesn't actually change anything. It never did. It never will. The real change happens when we actually commit to action and we start to change what we're doing on a daily basis. If you do that, that action repeatedly will create a different outcome. But the feeling of like, oh man, it slipped, but I'm not going to be mad at myself. I'm just going to be like committed. That feeling is kind of worthless. Like I'm glad it's a flag for us and we can reframe it so we can feel better about things. But at the end of the day, now it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? It's time to shift the priorities a little bit. And really that's the conversation that she and I are going to have. There's no guilt. There's no feelings. Like, well, let's just let that go and say you are committed to the healthy lifestyle that you work so hard to create and then maintain for a while, but it slipped and your body doesn't feel good. That's the outcome, the result of that slip. So you're recommitted, but what are we going to do about it? What are we going to change? How is your daily routine going to look different now that you've had this realization and you know that you're not where you want to be? You want to create a different outcome. You need to create different daily behaviors. So what has to go? Priorities tend to be, so if you have an entire day, 24 hours, you only get to spend those 24 hours one time. And how you spend them are your priorities, period. I don't care what you think your priorities are. How you spend that time are your priorities. And so usually you're already full, right? Like at the end of the day, you have 24 hours and truly at the end of the day, you spent them all and they were all full of something. So something has to go if you want to insert different priority into your day. Maybe it's scrolling. Maybe you have stuff that shouldn't be a priority that's really taking up too much of your time. You're spending way too much time scrolling. Maybe you're spending too much time on Netflix or Hulu, or you're spending too much time, doing, I don't know what you're spending your time on. Maybe work has kind of crept into, it used to be like fit into this window and now it's just never ending, but you're not really any more productive. It's just like extending. Maybe that needs to be a shift. Maybe there are important priorities where you're like, family, super important. My job, my passion, super important. It's intentionally there as a priority. But all of this other stuff, it's got to go. So that I can fit in taking care of myself, so I can fit in having some time for some nutrition stuff, so I can have some time for some exercise and some walking and all of those things. I mean, think about it. If you've got to fit in 30 minutes to an hour of walking, you've got to do strength training 3 to 4 times a week, and you need to have enough time to at least make healthy food choices by having the stuff in your house and doing some version of meal prep. You've got to make time for that. And so something else has to go. So what's going to go? And if you are willing to make that shift, then that feeling of it slipped, but I'm recommitted, you're going to start to develop a muscle around that. And again, it's not that I want you to slip. It's just it happens. It happens to all of us. So if you've developed the muscle around like, I've let it slip, so how do I put the pieces back together? And then you do it, you also build confidence in that. So that way, if ever down the road things slip, you know you can put it back together. But it doesn't feel good, by the way. P.S. Like if you have to re-lose weight that you've already lost, or you have to rebuild strength that you had before, or you're just trying to like reestablish those new habits and routines, that's tough. It's much easier to maintain it than it is to redo it. But guess what? Sometimes we have no choice. We just have to. We have to accept this is the circumstances of the past, 3, 6, 9, 12 months, year, whatever. Now I've got to rebuild. And so I'm committed to doing it. And so I'm going to do it. So that's my coffee talk message for today. I think, her text, was honest and real, and I get it. I've been there. But all that matters is now what happens from here. And so I'm pumped to be able to coach her and help her kind of rebuild this, and build that muscle also, and then also build the confidence that she can get it back. And then this time when she's made significantly more progress, and then she goes into sort of like, I'm just maintaining it because things, that's the season that I'm in. I think it'll feel different because when the maintaining it starts to be threatened and all of a sudden maintaining it isn't maintaining it anymore, like those things that you used to prioritize for your health and taking care of your body all of a sudden start to disappear off of your daily routine, because that's really the difference, right? Like at the end of the day, you are maintaining the behaviors that created the outcome that you want, but you're not necessarily like pushing hard to get a new result. You're just going to maintain them. So you're still walking, you're still working out, you're still eating pretty well, and that's your maintaining. But when those things start to slip, well, then your body's going to start to respond to the new things that you're doing every day. The new thing is you're sitting too much. The new thing is you're drinking too much alcohol. The new thing is sugar has slipped back in. The new thing is you're eating out on the regular. The new thing is that gym went from 5 days a week to 2 days a week to 1 day a week to rarely. Those are the new things that started to become the repeats of your days, and that's why you're getting a different result. And so all we got to do is change it back. So hopefully this coffee talk episode was helpful. Let me know if you like this episode. Do me a huge favor, screen capture, share, tag me. That's how people find out about it. It really means a lot that you listen. I love doing these with you. I'm thinking about taking my mic and my laptop to Banff for my trip. And so I don't know if I'll be weird though, because if I'm in the campsite, I have to do it in my car. And that might be cool, but it also might be weird, because if I open my car and I'm like recording like my tailgate or something, then other people are gonna be like, who is talking at 5 a.m.? Like, stop talking, we're sleeping. And if I go and like go by the water or something, I'm just going to want to sit there and quiet, to be honest. So I think I am going to bring my mic, but I can't say for sure what that podcast will look like. Maybe it'll be like a midday podcast where I won't bother anybody. But I am looking at still like kind of like putting my whole gear together. So if you have suggestions or ideas, definitely send it my way. And thanks as always for plugging into Coffee Talk. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Fit Me Coffee Talk on your favorite podcast platform. If you're not a part of our Facebook group yet, go to Facebook, search Fit Me Community, request to join the group, and I will add you there. Take care. Bye.